Hey humans, and welcome to Read to Me, Matt Dunn. I'm Matt Dunn, and I'm going to read to you. So, we are reading Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Amazing. If you followed with me from here on out, you know the madness. Let's call it that. The madness. We are on chapter 13, part 1. Scoop the swoop. Some time elapsed before I learned the history of my friends. It was one which could not fail to impress itself deeply on my mind, unfolding as it did a number of circumstances, each interesting and wonderful to one so utterly inexperienced as I was. The name of the old man was de Lacy. He was descended from a good family in France, where he had lived for many years in affluence, respected by his superiors and beloved by his equals. His son was bred in the service of his country, and Agatha had ranked with ladies of the highest distinction. A few months before my arrival, they had lived in a large and luxurious city called Paris, surrounded by friends and possessed of every enjoyment which virtue, refinement of intellect, or taste accompanied by a moderate fortune could afford. The father of Safie had been the cause of their ruin. He was a Turkish merchant and had inhabited Paris for many years when, for some reason which I cannot learn, he became obnoxious to the government. He was seized and cast into prison the very day that Safie arrived from Constantinople to join him. He was tried and condemned to death. The injustice of his sentence was very flagrant. All Paris was indignant, and it was judged that his religion and wealth, rather than the crime alleged against him, had been the cause of his condemnation. That doesn't sound right. Whatever. Condemnation. Felix had been present at the trial. His horror and indignation were uncontrollable. When he heard the decision of the court, he made at that moment a solemn vow to deliver him, and then looked around for the means. After many fruitless attempts to gain admittance to the prison, he found a strongly grated window in an unguarded part of the building which lighted the dungeon of the unfortunate Mahometan, who, loaded with chains, waited in despair the execution of the barbarous sentence. Barbarous sentence. That was a barbarous sentence that I read it barbarously. A verb. Felix visited the grate at night and made known to the prisoner his intention in his favor. The Turk, amazed and delighted, endeavored to kindle the zeal of his deliverer by promises of reward and wealth. Felix rejected his offer in contempt, yet when he saw the lovely Safie, who was allowed to visit her father, and who, by her gestures, expressed her lively gratitude, the youth could not help owning to his own mind that the captive possessed a treasure which would fully reward his toil and hazard. How does Felix know the father? Did I fucking skip over that? I hope you guys are reading, because sometimes the brain waves don't really work right. So all I know is this is what's happening. The Turk quickly perceived the impression that his daughter has made on the heart of Felix, and endeavored to secure him more entirely in his interests by the promise of her hand in marriage. So soon as he should be conveyed to a place of safety, Felix was too delicate to accept this offer. Yet he looked forward to the probability that event as to the consummation of his happiness. The sex. He was thinking about getting it on. Consummation is sex, right? During the ensuing days, while the preparations were going forward for the escape of the merchant, the zeal of Felix was warmed by several letters that he received from this lovely girl, who found means to express her thoughts in language of her lover by the aid of an old man, a servant of her father's, who understood French. She thanked him in the most ardent terms for his intended services toward her father, and at the same time she gently deplored her own fate. Deplored, huh? I have copies of these letters, for I found means during my residence in the hovel to procure the implements of writing, and the letters were often in the hands of Felix or Agatha. Before I depart, I will give them to you. They will prove the truth of my tale, but at present, as the sun is already far declined, I shall only have time to repeat the substance of them to you. This is the creature talking. Saifi related that her mother was a Christian Arab, seized and made a slave by the Turks. Recommended by her beauty, she had won the heart of the father of Saifi, who married her. The young girl spoke in high and enthusiastic terms of her mother, born in freedom, spurned the bondage to which she was now reduced. She instructed her daughter in the tenets of her religion, and taught her to aspire to higher powers of intellect and an independence of spirit, forbidden to the female followers of Muhammad. This lady died. Dead. She's dead. People die all the time. And she died. But her lessons were indelibly impressed on the mind of Saifi, who sickened at the prospect again returning to Asia, and the being immured within the walls of harem, allowed only to occupy herself with the puerile amusements, ill-suited to the temper of her soul, now accustomed to grand ideas and a noble emulation of feud for virtue. The prospect of marrying a Christian and remaining in a country where women were allowed to take a rank in society was enchanting to her. The day for the execution of the Turk was fixed, but the night previous to it he had quitted prison, and before morning was distant many leagues from Paris. Felix had procured passports in the name of his father, sister, and himself. He had previously communicated his plan to the former, who aided the deceit by quitting his house under the pretense of a journey, and concealed himself with his daughter in an obscure part of Paris. Interesting. Well, Felix conducted the fugitives through France to Lyons and across Mont Cenis to Leghorn, where the merchants had decided to wait a favorable opportunity of passing into some part of the Turkish dominions. Felix. Damn. So, as we can see, they're not just normal people. They are fugitives. They are criminals. They are lowlives, lawbreakers, ungrateful, disrespectful, pieces of shit who fucking just think they can do what they want and break people out of jail. Well, maybe it is their right to, being as, nobody knows, nobody cares. Who cares? I surely don't. And you surely don't, because you didn't even know about it until you heard this. So I read it. I didn't even know about it. If you'd like me to read more, please check out more of my videos. Give me a like, subscribe, write a comment down below, and we'll be friends, I promise. Because we already are. Friends.